The ground was tied up for a while, and as soon as it became available, we started looking around, and we thought, okay, this, we know the area so well. It's the highest grade tin province in the world, and the ground was there, so we acquired it.
Would you say it's better than what Alphamin have, or comparable?
Look, Palmer North is it's one of those freaks in nature, I believe. You'll struggle to find those sort of grades in a mine. I think we'll end up with something more similar to Palmer South, where that's running at I think that's around 2%. And if you have the tonnage and at 2%, I think you've got a pretty good project. Anywhere else in the world, when you're getting those sort of copper grades, people will be falling over themselves. We just have to persevere, and like I say, you've got multiple zones, and within that, you're getting good grades and everything. So that's close to the surface, you're going to have a very high grade copper resource and tin. And as you go deeper, we don't know what happens to copper, but you're definitely going to get more tin coming in.
More tin.
This interview is for information only and should not be considered as investment advice or a recommendation to buy shares in the company featured. Welcome to this Stock Box interview.
Joining us today for a special feature on Rome Resources and, of course, the tin deposit that the company are exploring in the DRC is Paul Barrett, the CEO, and Mark Gasson, the chairman of Rome Resources. Thank you both for your time joining us today. Of course, Paul, we've spoken quite a few times before. How are you doing?
Fine, thanks.
Yeah, and it's good to meet you, Mark. Yes, good to meet you. It's nice to meet other people in the team. I've seen a lot of pictures and video that we'll be talking about some of those today. Of course, you were on site just recently there, assisting with the exploration. But first of all, before this special feature, we want to cover 4 key areas. I think, first of all, we want to start with looking at the tin market, really. Then we'll look at the project itself in terms of the general geology, the location, its access, infrastructure, etc. Really try and set the scene. Then we'll talk about the neighbour, of course, Alphamin, which this deposit is sort of extending off from, get an idea of perhaps how you can mirror what is going on at Alphamin. And then we'd like to finish off with looking at the current exploration plan, really diving deep into where you're exploring, why, what current results are perhaps telling you, and how things are shaping up. But to start us off, so Paul, I think you want to sort of start us off. If we could perhaps go through just generally, really, the tin market in general. Tin is probably one of the less, let's say, sexier metals out there, but certainly it's a very useful metal, and it's coming into a bit of a bull market, I believe, isn't it?
Well, that's right. I mean, it has been a bit of a late starter to the kind of critical metals universe. Definitely, the last couple of years, it's become more and more of an obvious critical mineral. This is due primarily to its use in advanced electronics, solar panels, and all those kind of things that are kind of marching forward in the energy transition. This slide, actually from the London Metal Exchange Week, is quite interesting from earlier this year. That it's a poll of what participants were asked were the most critical metals, or should I say, the metals that will have the most upside in the market for 2025. And at the outset, everybody was thinking copper, maybe nickel, and aluminium. But actually, after the discussion and after the various talks and what have you, copper declined a little bit, and tin really took off. I mean, it's just a matter of education in terms of understanding. Tin is a pretty small market, and it's a very critical metal going forward. So that's quite an interesting change in the education of the sector in a way.
Okay. Would you say it sort of came up from behind? Did it sort of surprise a few players in the space?
Yes, I think so. I mean, I think that's it. It is because it's a relatively small market. Copper and nickel and aluminium are massive markets, but tin is quite a bit smaller. But it's nonetheless critical in that respect.
Okay. And this slide here, this is talking about the longer-term demand growth. So just take us through what this slide is telling us, Paul.
Yeah. So on the left, so we have supply issues at the moment. you'll see this is from International Tin Association. Basically, the change in production during 2023 to 2024, it's a bit of a forecast, but it's showing some quite marked differences between what's happening in places like the DRC, where Alphamin have been increasing their tin production, also in Peru. But the main negatives are in Myanmar, where mining for tin has been shut down effectively, and Indonesia, where there's permitting issues. So there's a huge deficit going forward if this isn't fixed. And the way we're looking at fixing it, obviously, is to bring more tin into the market from a project in DRC. So, it's definitely on the supply side some real challenges. These may be short to medium term, they may not be longer term, but there's certainly a need for more tin supply at the moment. And then on the right side, it's the demand side, and this is an estimate really going forward the next 6 years, I would say, which will give us a major increase in requirement for solar and electric vehicle, and also in the kind of 5G and AI markets to really boost demand. So if you combine the supply squeeze and the demand growth, I think it's a pretty good story going forward for tin.
Okay, so just looking at the one on the left there, so there's a huge deficit, but basically that would have been supplied from like Myanmar and Indonesia, but that's not going to be the case going forward.
Well, I'm not sure what the longer term issues are there. I mean, in terms, or whether they have solutions. I don't know, Mark, if you have any further thoughts on those two particular supplies.
No, I think it's just a case of time. It will get sorted out, I believe, but so there will be more supply, and I'm pretty sure there's still something coming out of there anyway. But the bottom line is that at the end of the day, there will still be a huge shortage of tin, with or without Myanmar.
Regardless, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, and also the fact that tin is not particularly easy to recycle tin. You're only recycling 10 to 20% of what you can. So, you really are relying on future supplies predominantly from new mines.
Okay. And I mean, is this part of the thinking behind the Rome Resources here? And of course, the new direction, if you like, because obviously Rome reversed it, Pathfinder, wasn't it, originally, that then became Rome Resources with the tin project here. Is this sort of an aligning of the stars? Did the people behind this sort of come together and look at the market and say, gosh, look at what's happening to tin. This is an opportunity just in the waiting here. And given the experience, of course, of the team next door in Alphamin, was it sort of like a meeting of aligning of stars and come on, guys, let's get on with this?
Well, I think probably the reality is that this project was driven really by the world class grades in the tin play, and also the fact that with Alphamin producing next door and increasing their production, the production in DRC is a pretty good low cost way of extracting the tin. So I think the tin market explosion, as it were, in terms of, or not explosion, but in terms of holding up really well, is kind of a secondary thing that's come along. We are driven by the quality of the project and the fact that we can do business in the DRC.
Okay. Good. Well, let's take a look at the project then, if we can. So, I mean, these are some photos that you sent us beforehand here. So, I mean, this, I guess we're looking at here as a helicopter view as you're perhaps coming in to land on the site here. It's very much sort of jungle, and that's the sort of clearing where the camp is?
Yep, that's correct. That's our camp. So we have tented accommodation and an office. And obviously all the kitchen and the support that goes with that. So we've pretty much built everything from scratch. Used all the trees that we cleared to build the actual buildings themselves. So that's our team. Jamie Anderson runs the exploration, and that's Jamie with or next to me on the left. And
Okay.
we have quite a few local geologists in that team that have been working with us for years. From early sort of 2010 around there. So
Okay.
we've built a good team through the years, and many of these have actually worked at Alphaman itself. So
Okay.
because as part of our team when we started when Klaus and I started Alphaman in 2012.
Okay. Okay. So what's it like sort of being on site, living and working on site? I guess you're completely sort of cut off from society. And what's it like? You say you're constructing. You can see some buildings in the background there. You say constructed from the trees that were cut down. But I mean, is it sort of quite rough living for a few days that you're on site for?
No, I mean, like, for me, it's quite luxurious actually. I don't know if Paul agrees, but
Yeah, I
but we
was
have
surprised. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, no go.
Hey, flushing
Okay.
toilets. What
Okay.
more do you want?
Say again, Paul.
Said flushing toilets. What more do you want?
Yeah, and hot
Int-
showers, flushing toilets, and good food. So it
Yeah.
all works.
Excellent. Okay,
Yeah.
good. Okay, good. Well, yeah, it'd be nice to visit that one day if possible. But yeah, it certainly looks like you're very kind of isolated. But yeah, I'm sure you've got everything you need there. So if we just look generally here, this is sort of showing us really on a bigger picture, I think, where the
Yeah.
project is. So Mark, do you just want to sort of explain what we're looking at here?
Okay, sure. So I think the main feature there is the central granite, and that you can see in pink, and then you have these dashed yellow lines around it, which are these sort of structures surrounding the granite. And
Hmm.
Alphaman's deposits, they sit within the structure to the east. They're north south, and then you can see the actual structures flex around the granite in the north. And our we believe our project is sitting in the optimum position for for the all the fluids to drop out, and we're seeing that in the drilling. So we're only 8 kilometers from Alphaman, and soon Alphaman, I think they'll be producing around 9% of the world's tin. And in saying
Okay.
that, Palmer North is the highest grade tin mine in the world. So as I said, we started the exploration, and we drilled out the first resource before bringing in Denham. And so we have a very, very good handle on the geology, and so I think we sort of understand what's controlling the mineralization to a large extent, and we're seeing a lot of similarities in what we are seeing in the drilling at the moment to what we saw in the past. So I can quickly run you through just the sort of current exploration to date.
We can. I'd like to
Yeah,
do
yeah.
that, but before we get
Ah,
on to the current exploration today, I just want to have just a bit more understanding of this slide. So the sort of the pink slash sort of purple area, that's the granite field. So what's so significant about that then? How does that relate to the tin depositing?
so basically, our model is that as the granites were intruded and they cool down, your volatiles are driven out, and up to a stage when they sort of migrate up all these surrounding structures. And what's important there is that the style of mineralization has a very strong zonation, and with your tin dropping out first at the highest temperatures, and as these fluids migrate further up the structures, you get the copper, lead, zinc dropping out. So basically, that means that as you're closer to the source, you're getting the tin dropping out, and as you move further away, you're getting sort of a polymetallic
Okay.
mineralization, and that is exactly what we are seeing at our main Mont anomaly,
Okay.
where we've got very, very good copper, and then as we are drilling deeper, we're finding a lot more tin coming in, and then also the tin seems to be increasing as you're getting closer to the source. So everything is sort of we are basically uh, coming to sort of an understanding of the controls of mineralization, which are very, very similar to San Rafael and Impama North and Impama South. We're seeing all the same characteristics.
Okay. So this is a very sort of predictable model, is it, here, where you've got the different elements dropping out at different stages, as you say, and you can really effectively almost sort of predict or really understand the geological model here.
Yep. So it all depends on how wide your transition zone is and how how deep you have to drill before you get into the high grade tin. But there's no doubt from what you've seen so far that it is there. It's just a case of
Okay.
drilling. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Okay. And
it's a very common occurrence. I mean, at San Rafael, the zonation there, the zonation here. The Cornish Metals project in Cornwall is the same. It's got copper near surface and tin at depth. It's a very common geological phenomenon, basically, around the tin granite.
Yeah.
Okay, good. And the yellow dashed lines there where you've labelled sort of target horizon. So this is where you expect the deposits to be?
Yep. So effectively, those are just the structures that are coming off the granites.
Okay.
But there's been a lot of structural movement before, and a lot of compression, a lot of release. So it's quite complex structurally. So it's a bit of a structural maze, and to find the right ones is the challenge.
Right. Okay. When you talk about structures, are these sort of the outcrops? Is that right?
No, these are faults. Basically,
Faults. Okay.
major fault zones. Yeah.
Okay.
And generally related to thrusting.
Right. Okay. And that's where,
Yeah.
where you expect to
Yeah.
find the mineralization. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. And then just in terms of, so obviously Alphamin, as you say, very established. They're going to be heading to producing 9% of the world's tin in the not too distant future. So that's a fully operational activity. So clearly it's not that difficult, or maybe it is difficult. Maybe you can enlighten me how to get an operation. Obviously, you're at early stage, but to get an actual full operation going in terms of infrastructure, power, etc., and of course getting the mineralization shipped out.
Okay. So basically, where we are at the moment is exactly where we were with Alphamin in around 2012, 2013.
Okay.
The closest road structure to Alphamin was 21 kilometers away. So we had to build a road of 21 k's, and that we did by hand, and relatively low costs. And so it can be done, we've proved it can be done. We are only 8 k's from Alphamin, and I think with time we will only be we'll be able to access. We won't have the hassles of building a 21 kilometer road basically. So we'll be able to. I'm pretty sure we'll be able to share some of the infrastructure with Alphamin at the end of the day, because we are two companies in a very remote area, so it makes sense to work together.
Indeed.
Yeah.
And you were instrumental. You've done this before. Effectively, you discovered that Alphamin project. So I mean, there's a couple of things there. Your experience, first of all, but of course, relations with that company and its operations would presumably help you with any kind of discussions of sharing infrastructure.
Yeah, no, we are working on that at the moment, and just a matter of time. Yeah.
Okay, so you did this. You said Rome now is where Alphamin was and where you were in 2012. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So it's the sort of it's not fair to call it a discovery stage. It's probably more advanced than that, is it?
Well, we are purely we are in a very much a discovery stage.
Okay.
The Mont Agoma anomaly had no artisanal mining. It was and it's only from our soil sampling that we discovered it, and it's one of the highest grade tin anomalies I've ever seen in my life. I mean, you have 500 meters at over 0.2%. It's crazy. So it's lying on surface. So yeah, that's but Kalai had a few artisanals on it.
Okay. So it's all part of the same system, effectively, and Alphamin have got their sort of section there, and this was up for grabs, was it?
Yep.
Just explain. So is that Alphamin's area?
Yes, Alphamin is Impama North and Impama South.
Okay.
Their mining commenced on Impama North, and now they've just brought Impama South on stream. So they'll be mining the two, and then blending the ore.
Blending it. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And I mean, do you know any sort of facts about Palmer South then that investors could perhaps, do their own calculations on, maybe to what you have up at in Basie North there?
Yeah, I'm not sure of the actual resource. I think it's around 120,000 tons of contained tin.
Okay.
But yeah, so that's that. Whereas in Palmer North, I mean, there's 10-year mine supply there.
Right.
So yeah, so there's I'm not sure what the current Palmer North grade is, or resource is, but
Okay.
it's quite substantial. Yeah.
But you would expect similar then, so circa 100,000 tons of tin and a sort of a 10+ year life of mine.
Yes, I think with Mont I think that's going to bring out the big surprise, because
Okay.
you've got a 200-meter wide sulfide zone, and it's got a lot of copper, lead, zinc, and tin, and so there's a huge system at play. And I believe as we start drilling deeper towards the using the zonation model, as we start drilling deeper, we're gonna start getting into good serious tin grades. And
Okay.
yeah, if you look at San Rafael, for example, I mean they're also running at 2.5%. And San Rafael started off as a copper mine, and then they went through this transition zone, and finally into a and now they supply 9% of the world's tin. So
Okay.
yeah, so it's the key is not to panic, and to just systematically work out where how the grade is increasing, and then chase the grade basically.
Chase the grade. Okay, well, we'll
Yep.
talk about that in a moment. I just want to
Yep.
ask the question here, which you probably can't answer, is in terms of economics. Do we have to wait until you can get some PEAs or DFSs out, resource statements, etc., to talk about economics, or is it fair to say to investors, go and look at Palmer South, go and look at San Rafael, and you'll get a good idea?
Yeah, look, I mean, we hope to have our first resource out early next year,
Hmm.
and that'll be the beginning. And from then on, and we have 4 drill rigs on site, because we have all these sort of support. There's not, we want to
Sure.
go flat out on the program itself, and so we have 4 rigs going, and we should be able to complete this first program quite soon, before the end of the year, hopefully, and then assess, once we get the results in, we can assess where to next, and yeah, and head for the sort of the high grade resources that we're expecting.
Excellent. Okay, good. Well, you say you've got 4 drill rigs. I know 2 are running at Kalai and 2 are running at Mont. So let's just dig into Kalai first of all then, and just sort of have a brief look over where you've been drilling, and why you've been drilling, and what some of those perhaps early results are telling you. So I'm looking at this slide now. Looks like there's quite a few number of drills there that have gone in the middle of the picture there.
Yep, in total we've drilled 15 holes at Kalai, 4 in the initial phase, and we've done another 11. And we've covered sort of 600 meters of strike, and we've pretty much confirmed mineralization down to 150 meters. So that you can see is it's a very small portion of the actual anomaly, because you've got those dashed lines that you're seeing are the continuation of the soil anomaly, and that's on the ridges, so that's in situ. So we've only covered what's at a third of the potential sort of resource. But the idea behind this was to understand the mineralization, because Kalai is tin only. There aren't any polymetallics, and so the key there is to understand any sort of shoot geometries, or the actual, with how much, if it's a pinch and swell structure, because you're looking at quartz veining within a shear zone. So I think this drilling has taught us a lot, and we're definitely seeing a high grade shoot which plunges to the south, and it's just a case of drilling those out, probably exposed over, we've intersected the mineralization all the way down to
Okay.
our lowermost hole. So it's there, and now we just have to wait for the results. We have two lots of, or two holes have samples in the lab at the moment, and we should get those results within the next week or so. And
Okay.
and then another three from Kalai in the lab at the moment, or
Okay.
or on their way to the lab, basically.
Okay.
So
So
the key is to start getting, once you've got our first results, we should eventually get into a position where we can start getting, constant results out onto the market every sort of 2 to 3 weeks
okay.
in the real world. But Congo has its challenges. So,
Of course, yeah, but that's
yeah,
always nice when there's a nice flow of assay results coming to the
yeah,
market there. So that red dashed line, as you say, that's the soil anomalies. So
yeah.
that's where you basically you've gone and taken soil samples effectively along that trend.
Yes, all those dots that you're seeing there, those are results of a soil sampling program. And yeah,
Oh,
and
all the dots. Right.
yeah,
Okay. So you've got
yeah.
green dots, blue dots. Yeah. Okay. Okay. And then the red line, the red dashed line is where you're sort of, is that where you're predicting the
Well,
center of
that's
mineralization is?
yeah. Those are on the ridges, and the ridges are anomalous. So the anomalies have to be in situ. So that's pretty much your target for drilling.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yes, there's an awful lot of soil samples being done there.
yeah.
So this was this done a while ago? Is this sort of historical data?
When we first acquired the ground, we covered the whole both licenses with soil sampling.
Okay,
And and from that we identified these two targets, Montagoma and Kalai. Although Kalai did have a small number of artisanal workers on it, so
okay,
that
okay, yeah.
wasn't new. But Montagoma, 100% soil discovery.
Okay, and that was all before the RTO there. And once RTO, you've then effectively got started immediately with the
Yeah.
drilling there. So
Well, before the RTO, we'd already started drilling. We drilled 15 holes at Montagoma and 4 holes at Kalai. So when Pathfinder got involved, they had a good idea of what they were letting themselves in for.
yeah, okay,
Yeah,
good. So
yeah.
we're expecting results from those drills that are there. Would you plan to drill sort of a whole the long line? You have target 3, target 2. Is that really the target, or are you going to keep things, just see how things develop?
No, no, we have to drill the whole thing out because it's
Okay,
all mineralized. Yeah, so we need to get because you must also remember the mineralization is from surface, so it's going to be very relatively cheap and simple mining,
okay,
open cut, and that'll also help you get a much better handle on the actual high grade core that you can follow
okay,
out with underground mining.
okay. And is all
Yeah.
of that sort of exploration planned and costed for yet, or we're not quite
No,
there
no,
yet?
no, we're not quite there yet.
Not quite
This
there
is
yet. Yeah,
no, no. Yeah, no, this is still early stages. We just want to get
sure.
through this program that we committed to in the
Yeah.
RTO. Yeah,
Yeah, and get the resource out and go from there. Okay, that
yeah,
sounds good. So
yeah.
we've got a couple of other slides here. So just talk us through what we're
Yeah.
seeing at
So
the moment. And
so this is a section through Kalai. What you're seeing in the top hole there, that's where we had that's from our early drilling and the previous drilling, and that was we had an intercept there of 12 meters at 1.1%, and you had another 2.5 meters at 2.6% within that zone. But what's more important within that, you had up to 12% over half a meter, and that just shows that it's the same style of mineralization, of tin mineralization, basically, that you're seeing next door at Palmer
okay,
North and South. And we drilled, and what this shows as well is that there's a very clear sort of pinch and swell geometry on these structures, and so the deepest hole, which is roughly 150 meters below surface, we've come into mineralization again. We know it's there because we have a routine on site where we use the niton to check every meter, and it's not quantitative. It's more about identifying the mineralized zones, and you but you can also see fine cassiterite banding within the zone as well, and that just confirms that it is cassiterite. So it's a tool that helps guide our exploration basically. So, and there you can
Okay.
see, it was pretty wide at near surface, and then it pinches out a bit, and now it's starting to blow up again at depth. So with just drilling deeper again, you're probably going to find a whole different story coming out of it. So I think in both instances we have to look deep. Okay, so and then the next slide.
Mm-hmm.
This is our current drilling, and again, these are all just confirmation from the XRF. But so the top hole, number 6, that was very interesting. A lot of chloride alteration, which is also key. It's the last phase of your sort of fluids coming up the structures. You get this pervasive chloride alteration. So there's a lot of chloride, a lot of visible cassiterite, and we're picking that up in all the holes, both the additional holes on that same section. So it's continuous. We just need to see what sort of grades we're looking at.
Okay.
If you want to compare this to Mpama South, you'll find the bulk of their resource, of their high-grade resource, is below 200 meters from surface. The upper 200 meters, you didn't have, the sort of thicker zones and high grades that you're getting in the deeper holes. So that's just something to bear in mind with our exploration as well. So effectively, you can see we've got enough strike to test, and then obviously these things continue at depth all the way down. And we're seeing at Mpama, or next door to Alphaman, we're seeing that the grade does increase at depth, and there's no reason why that's not going to be the case here as well.
Okay. A couple of things that come to mind. So cassiterite, is that tin mineralization effectively?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's the SNO2. Yeah.
Okay. And you mentioned this pinch and swell, so we could see that on the previous slide quite clearly there. Is that what's expected? Does that make it more challenging to sort of understand, or is that sort of normal?
No, that's normal. You're basically
Okay.
following a structure, and within the structure you have a lot of quartz veining and
Okay.
the fluids coming up from below.
Okay. And you said you need to look deep. So I mean, how deep are we talking? How challenging could that be?
Oh no, look, I mean, Mpama's down to what, 500 meters or so. So these things are open all the way down, and it's
Okay.
a very successful mine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So as long as the mineralization keeps going and the grades
Right.
are constant, then we can, then you've got a serious project.
Right. Okay. And that lends itself to us open pit mining, is it?
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously the economics will determine how deep the open pit can go, and
Sure.
then it's just a case of putting in a decline and following it out underground.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Good. Okay. Well, let's talk about Mont Agoma then. So we've got similar slides here. There's, of course, again, I think looking at existing, drills that have been done, and there's again the your predicted sort of target area with the dashed line.
Yep. Okay. So what you can see there is we're targeting 700 meters with this drilling program. Previously, we drilled around 300 meters of strike. And from that, you can see there are multiple, what that diagram actually shows in green, which might not be that clear, is that you have multiple zones of that are mineralized with tin.
Okay.
And that's generally a very strong association with the tin and and copper and zinc. And we're finding a lot of silver as well. So you've got multiple zones. And these, as you can see there, so within the zinc zone, if you run through that, in the west, that'll be a zinc zone, but there is tin within that. And then the other zones heading towards the to the right, those are all sort of copper, zinc, and tin zones. And
Okay.
yeah, but that's just the tin within that. So basically, you've got multiple shears that are mineralized. But what came out from our visit this last time is that there's a strong sort of lithological control as well, which is exactly what we're seeing what we have at next door at Alphaman. Your high grade tin is sitting within these. It's a mafic intrusive, and basically we are seeing exactly the same thing at J, except where at Alphaman the mafics are probably sort of between 20 and 40 meters wide maximum. Ours are up, close to 100 meters thick. So there's a lot more going on ours, and you can see that's just a section running through it where you have the zinc on to the west, left, and then you have the sort of zinc that's a zinc in purple. 100 meters, that's running at around 4%, and within that you're getting some super high grades. But our main focus is the actual the copper tin zone, and we're getting a lot of
Okay.
high grade copper as well. You can see there was we got 41 meters at 3.5%, and that's continuous on strike as well. It's not new. Our most recent hole is drilled in the in sort of the northern extent, and we're still finding copper in that. So the copper's real, and there's been a lot of interest in the copper, and we're finding tin coming in at deeper levels,
Okay.
and then as we our current focus, our main focus in the current program is to extend the drilling to the southeast, and we're seeing a lot more cassiterite coming in, or tin mineralization coming in there together with the copper and the zinc and silver. Well, we can't see this, but together with the copper, and that's all visual. So again, we have our first hole 16A. The samples are they en route to the lab, and so we should get some, once we get those and the additional holes from Kalai, we should have some decent results coming out, hopefully, within, that'll be within, I guess, 3 to 4 weeks for that lot. Yep.
Okay. So Mont Agoma has the copper as well, which I guess this is what we're looking at now. This is the copper sort of
This
model,
is
is it?
exactly, this is the copper, and so basically the copper normally continues for another kilometer roughly to the northwest. So it's really open, and so there's and anywhere else in the world when you're getting those sort of copper grades, people will be falling over themselves. So we just have to persevere, and like I say, you've got multiple zones, and within that, you're getting good grades and everything. So I think there's close to the surface, you're going to have a very high grade copper resource, and
Okay.
and tin. And as we go deeper, that we don't know what happens to copper, but we're definitely going to get more tin coming in.
More tin. Okay.
Yeah,
Perfect.
yeah.
That makes sense. You've explained that quite well. So, and in terms of the copper grades, then you're sort of seeing is it circa 2.5%? Am I right in saying?
3.5%. We are between 2.5 and 3.5.
Okay. Yeah.
Within
Very good then.
that, you've got zones of over 10%. Over a meter kind of
Okay.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's good
Yeah.
copper.
Okay. So the copper element to Mont Agoma here is obviously going to be very valuable as well. Are you not seeing any copper there at Kalai?
No, Kalai is tin
Okay.
only. That's
Tin only. Yeah.
that's the distinction between the two.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
And the models then that you've got here for Mont Agoma, which you've just gone through here, would you be creating similar models here for Kalai in terms of the sort of the graphics we've seen here, the 3D models?
No, basically Kalai is it's tin only. We don't have any polymetallics. We don't know if if we sort of lower down in the system there that the polymetallics have been driven off, and maybe they were never there. Maybe it was just because basically these you have these minerals, or you have the fluids using sometimes the same structure, sometimes new structures. It's not everything comes up the same structure from the granite. They so you might have Kalai might have been just one tin structure. It might have just been a tin phase, and and basically nothing else. And whereas Mont Agoma had the whole works in a whole series of different structures, as you can see in that diagram. So yeah, so it's pretty complex. I think Kalai is simple. That seems to be more shear hosted with quartz veining, and this is lithologically controlled, and it's also it's a massive sulfide system.
Okay. So if I'm to sort of sum up where you are, you've got the two areas there, of course, Mont Agoma having copper and tin mineralization, whereas Kalai just having the tin there. They've both got coming out at the moment looking like good economic grades, particularly on the copper side here at Mont Agoma. In terms of the model then, is it fair to say that you're sort of confirming understanding the geological model here, mapping it out, and it's as expected. It's what you're expecting to find, so it's understandable and comparable to typical tin deposits, particularly the alpha min next door.
Yes, no,
Okay.
100%. It's really
Yeah.
it's fitting the model perfectly.
Okay.
Logically and structurally and everything.
Okay.
It's a
So
dead
those
ringer.
dead ringer, excellent. So those boxes are well and truly ticked then. So at the moment then it's assay results and effectively getting back those official grades heading towards that first resource
Correct.
announcement.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay. Well, I know there's some videos that Paul shot when you were on site here. I just want to go through them. They're just on Mont Agoma, but it sort of, I think, helps to explain a little bit about what you're doing. You're looking at outcrops, etc. You're looking at XRF, using the XRF gun there to see what you're getting back, and also you sort of talk through some of the cores that you've got, and sort of explaining the what you're seeing there before they go off to assay. So I wonder if we just perhaps look at you're looking at an outcrop first of all, and you can perhaps just explain what it is you're doing. But we'll just run this video now.
Okay.
As you can see, there's very little outcrop in this jungle, and fortunately when they cleared this pad, we were able to pick up a shear zone. You can see it running through here. Here we have some cassiterite sitting on the edge, and typical of what you're seeing in the core, you have a series of these quartz veins, and you can see the red is from the altered chlorite, and basically throughout this you have these cassiterite stringers going through little cassiterite veins as you have there.
Okay, so we're basically looking at an outcrop, and you say you can see cassiterite there at surface.
Yes. So basically, you can see there's very little outcrop, or if no outcrop. So when we cleared the pad for our drilling, that's when we found this bit of the cassiterite veining in the actual exposed in the pad. And the niton, as I said, is it's more a just a confirmation that we are looking at that we are looking at cassiterite, and probably can't read those numbers, but I mean that will be sort of around 2-3% taken on the thing. So very little outcrop, and so and we don't have any geophysics either. So a lot of this is just interpreting, understanding the models, and just chasing the structure.
Chasing the structure. Okay, so you perhaps look to drill here, or is this more about, as you say, chasing the structure and understanding it really?
Yeah. Look, we drilled below this, and and we obviously we got tin in the sort of upper sections. We had to move the pad.
Okay.
Yeah, but and there's that's just a typical drill pad in the jungle. Everything is it's quite a job clearing all the pads. Basically, it's all done manually by hand, and you're sitting on quite a steep hill, slopes around 30 degrees or so. So it's pretty. It takes you 2-3 weeks to get a pad done. So there are many challenges in this. Yeah. So but it works. We have a good team.
It works.
Yep.
Good. No, it looks like there's a good team. Very, very busy there. I do just want to go through and the videos you've talked about where you look through the core itself here, and there is a picture to show in a moment, which is much more detailed. But I wonder if we can just run this video, and it's a little bit hard to hear what you're saying, but maybe you could sort of give commentary perhaps as it's running here. So the first one we're going to look at is it's hole 15A. So we'll just sort of run that now.
We're going to take you through a section at Mont Agoma. We're starting off with hole 15A.
Okay, that's actually hole 10A.
You can see this was running around 10% zinc. Very impressive zone all the way through, and to roughly around here at about 120, and then back into some sort of shales, and samples are. And you can see
And
the
this
copper
is
was
where we
very
had a
close to
very
the
high
zone.
grade copper,
But we have
over
essentially
41
copper
meters
tins on,
running
and the tin is running
at
at around
3.5%.
0.2%. Copper
Okay.
running at 3.5%,
Okay.
and that's over 41 meters. Here we can see a little band of cassiterite, which is very difficult to see in this environment.
The
You can see little
cassiterite's very
cassiterite
finely
grains in there.
laminated, and there's a lot of chlorite
So this
alteration
continues
associated
for
with it
about
as well.
41
So
meters
it's
until
quite
it
hard to
goes down
see.
around here.
But we
And
use the
you go
niton
back
just
into
to
your
confirm
footwall.
where we have cassiterite.
Okay, so really what we're seeing there's what you've effectively described to us earlier on in this feature here, where effectively you've got the zinc right at the top there. You're getting into shales, as you said, then into the copper zone, and then as you go deeper, you're getting into that tin zone. You can see the cassiterite bands there of tin.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, perfect. Okay, good. Well, that's perfect. That explains that. So this other video we have here, and you can take us through this
This
one.
is our first hole drilled.
This one's quite
in the
exciting
new
because
drill
this is
campaign,
our first hole
hole
drilled in this
16A.
current
We
campaign.
come into the copper tin
And
zone.
we've intersected a very
And this
good
is
sort of copper tin zone.
our current model.
And
Is that
what's more
as we
important
are
is that
heading
the
towards
tin is
southeast,
actually
and at
there's
depth,
you're seeing a lot more sort of
are seeing an
cassiterite
increase
veining
tin
in
grades
this
and
hole together with the
copper as
copper.
well. So yeah, we're
And
into the copper zone.
and
Because the tin isn't immediately obvious, we've marked off all the sort of tin zones.
okay, you
can
can't
see
really
we've
see
got
it that
a
clearly,
lot of
but
these
you would
cassiterite
see a lot
bands,
more
which aren't always that
cassiterite markings
that
on
clear,
those cores.
until you sort of look closer. So we have a very good continuous copper tin zone all the way through, and so now our samples are in the process of being prepared, and hopefully we get the results.
So
back in
these
the next 2
samples
months.
are on their way to the lab now.
Right. Okay. Good. Okay.
Okay.
And is this sort of a close-up then, as we can see some of
Yeah.
the mineralization?
Yes, that's the copper, chalcopyrite, and I think there's a bit of bornite in there as well. That was drilled in the hole below below this one, hole 17. And what's interesting there is that within the zone we are finding a lot more cassiterite coming in as well. So just everything is just leading to the same model: drill deep and drill to the southeast.
Okay, perfect, good. And in the meantime, you await those assay results. And I mean, would you look to combine both Kalai and Agoma into sort of one? Would it be one project announcement, or would you keep them as two separate projects within Rome Resources?
No, I think it's one project. I don't know,
Okay.
Paul. What do you think? It's effectively, the one would complement the other one, and I don't see why you would do them separately.
No. I mean, there'll be two resource numbers, but as
Yeah.
a project, you wouldn't. No, that's right. You wouldn't separate them. They're within walking distance of each other.
Okay.
Long walk.
Good.
But anyway, and then, I mean, that's the same at Mpama. You've got Mpama North and Mpama South, and they are, they're pretty close to becoming one, but they're still two separate deposits. And so effectively, they're both coming on, or Mpama South will come on stream now, so they'll be mining from both and just blending the ore.
Okay, and just to finish off in thinking about any potential risks here, I mean, from what I'm listening to you now and sort of getting an understanding, I'm guessing the geological model, the deposit is fairly de-risked now. As those assays come back, but you're expecting them to come back because you can see mineralization there, that will de-risk the economics of the project in terms of what sort of economic resource you have. What's the biggest risks, do you think, facing the project? Is it the tin market, the tin price, securing finance for advancing? And if you've thought that far, and how you might sort of mitigate some of those risks.
So I mean, as with all these projects, the actual the mineralization is probably your biggest risk. Although in Congo, that's mitigated by being in Congo alone, because I mean, for some reason, Congo just has all these super high grade deposits. You look at the copper belt, you look at all the gold deposits, look at Kibali, 20 million ounces at close to 3 grams a ton. Congo is just silly. So, and we're in a very high grade tin province. So I believe that it's all your grade is your exploration risk. but we've sort of, I think we've, just because of where we are sitting and our understanding of the model, I believe that that isn't too great a risk. And security-wise, we have no issues there. And Alphaman have showed that you can mine and you can you can get the product to basically to out the country. And so I don't know, Paul, any other risks
No,
that you can think of?
I think the play is world class, and operating in DRC is fine. And as we've said previously, it's relatively low cost to produce, high grade ore. Those are two very very good positive ticks. It's how much do we have at the end of the day is the question, and that's what we're trying to find out.
And grade, what grade?
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, and what grade? And that will be early in the new year.
Yes.
Yeah, very early.
Very early in the new year. Okay, good. And then as we look bigger picture, what does 2025 hold, do you think, for the company?
Ooh, good question.
Lots of
Not
drilling.
to hold you to timelines or anything like that. Expectation management in this game is extremely difficult. But if you get that sort of initial resource out and grade out early in the new year, what does the rest of the year look like? I mean, how do you go through the different stage gates?
No, we have to drill. That's the bottom line.
Okay.
We have all the support. There's no point stopping and starting, and it's it is quite remote, so we need to just get on with it.
Get on with it. Prove it out.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go down the study route, make it show it's economical, and then build a mine.
Yep.
Ideally.
Exactly. Unless somebody wants to take us over.
Indeed. Well, thank you both very much. We could talk a bit more, but I mean that really helps understand, I think, all about the project, how tin deposits are formed, and of course what you're working on at the moment. And we can look forward. We're in end of October now, so we've only got a couple of months left of the year. But I'm sure Paul and probably Mark will be speaking again as different bits of news comes out and those assays start to come in. And looking forward to the all-important resource statement early in the new year. But thank you both for now very much for your time.
Great.
Right.
Thank you, Mark.
If you enjoyed this interview, then give us a thumbs up, a like or a retweet. Subscribe to us on YouTube or follow us on Twitter and hit that notification bell to be the first to know when we release new content. There's loads of great content on our website too, across all our programs at stockboxmedia.com. Thank you for watching.